We're on the 4th of Kislev. It marks the Hilula of a famous Yemenite Rabbi, Rabbi Yosef Korach, Zecher Tzadik Libracha, very great rabbi and famous rabbi of his time. I've actually spoken about in the series already about many great rabbis that actually came from the famous Korach family, respectively. And he was born actually in the year 1913, and I believe he passed away, I think it was on the 21st of November in the year 1990, 35 years ago. Naturally, that would have been, I think approximately, we're talking 35 years ago, it was one of the rabbis from the Tzana'at congregation in Teman, respectively, very, very famous place in of itself. I think much can be said within regards to him, and let's explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's life about Rabbi Yosef Korach here on this special edition over here, friends, as we are coming in and making fantastic progress and brilliant, let's just say, in of itself. So as we start off, we have to point out various different things. He was born in an area called Czana'ah. Now, it's a place we've spoken about here on various occasions before. Inside the series, they would have many great rabbis that actually hailed from various different parts, especially let's just say in of itself, many great rabbis would actually come there. He, I believe, interestingly enough, if I'm not mistaken, was Nolad Betzan'al Rav Shalom Korach. Very interesting enough. Rav Shalom or Salam Korach is his name, respectively. He passed away in the year 1952, and he was born in the year 1873. He was one of the great rabbis. I think his father himself was Rabbi Yosef Korach, another great rabbi. I believe we've spoken about on various occasions before here inside the series from Tzana'ah itself. Okay, let's say something about Rabbi Shalom Korach. He would learn under the auspices of his father, Rabbi Yosef Korach. Also his grandfather, this would be the great-grandfather, I believe, of Rabbi Yosef Korach, was Rabbi Chaim Korach, another great rabbi. We'll speak about him in a minute. And he would, the brilliance would be apparent. I think it was close and corresponding with various other rabbis, including Rabbi Avram Shiriki, if I'm not mistaken. And he would be an educator in of itself. Rabbi Shalom would be, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was a president of a school, a Jewish school at that time in Tzana'ah, I think, alongside Rabbi Amram Korach, another great rabbi who was a close family member, let's just say, in of itself. And I think he was close to Rabbi Yehia Kapach, if I'm not mistaken, one of the great rabbis mentioned about on various occasions before. A Katav Sefer B'Shem Igret Bochim, if I'm not mistaken, and much more can be said within regards to it. And I think Rabbi Shalom Korach would eventually end up in Eretz Yisrael. I think he would be in Ramat Gan and in the Jaffa area, respectively, if I'm not mistaken. That was his father, Rabbi Shalom Korach. We're going to speak about his grandfather. I think it was another famous Mori Chaim Ben Yosef Korach, also another great rabbi. I think he passed away in the year 1914, but we'll speak about him later on in the class. Okay, so he would learn Torah under auspices of his father, and Rabbi Yechia Avitz, another great rabbi we mentioned about before. He was a chief rabbi of the Jewish community and head of Jewish court in Yemen, respectively. Let's say something about Rav Avitz in of itself, respectively. He was, he himself, I think, was close to Rabbi Mori, Avram Korah, and Rabbi Yechia Kapach, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was very much part of the synagogue. There was a synagogue called the Beit Pinchas, if I'm not mistaken. I think from the family of the Pinchas family, respectively, over there. A rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before. And Rabbi Yechia Abatz was brilliant in of itself. He had great talent, including Rabbi Ratzon and Tzarom and Rabbi Yosef Kapach, respectively. Rabbi Yosef Korach is another rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before. I think he himself was a head of Jewish court. He was a shochet. He was a mohel, just like many of the great rabbis. And he was very, very well traveled, well knowledge, let's just say, and especially in various different languages, let's just say in itself. And I think he would be in contact with various other people at that stage in time. And many Muslims also, if I'm not mistaken. We learn inside the Beit Midrash. And especially with those different rabbis, Rabbi David Kapach, Rabbi Shalom Korach, Rabbi Ratzon Tzaram, very famous rabbis of that point in time. He himself, I think, passed away on the 26th of Cheshvan. I think we recorded a video about him in a previous year, if I'm not mistaken. And he would write various Torah colossal works, including a Shilot Shuvot, if I'm not mistaken, and various teachings specifically on the Mishnah Torah. if I'm not mistaken. And that's very interesting. He had great descendants, Rabbi Avitz, including Rabbi Moshe Avitz, who's his son, who was Rabbi of Kehila of the Dar Da'it, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Ozri, or Israel Avitz, another famous rabbi in himself, and and the various other ones, and wrote Torah, colossal work. Okay, but we're speaking about Rabbi Chaim Korach. Went on a bit of a tangent over here. Over there, so he was learning under auspices of Rabbi Yosef, Shalom Korach, and Rabbi Abraham Arshi. He would deal with in regards to so very, very interesting. So that's just by accident I spoke about Rabbi Chaim Korach also, who we'll speak about in the coming minutes. Okay, so he would learn Talmud and various different Musar teachings. He would give away all of that. He would teach it, educate it. I think he was a deputy to the manager of the main school also in Teman, in Yemen, respectively. He would be appointed the rabbi of the Beit Knesset. It's called the Beit Alexa, if I'm not mistaken. And this was instead of Rabbi Sa'id Salah, if I'm not mistaken, who I think made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael also. He was dealing with various different importances inside the congregation in himself. היתומים, שימש כמזכיר הבעד לעזרת עוני תימן, שנתמך על ידי התאחדות התימנים בישראל. There was a problem if someone was an orphan over there. The locals at that stage in time would maybe take that child away or assimilate them. So there was a big major issue over there, and the Rabbanim really had to step in to prevent that from happening. Even right over here, Harav Korach hibe b'ildoto asarot lefi minyan. המצוות של הרמב"ם, לאחר שנודע לו שהרב יוסף קורח מחבר גם הוא, so he was just, Asarat Katav, he wrote something, I'm not going to expound on what, but these were famous rabbis at that point in time. I think eventually he would make Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael and would live in the Ramat Amidar neighborhood, this in Ramat Gan, respectively. I think it's a place that we've spoken about, a place maybe we've even visited on this channel, if I am not mistaken. Ramat Gan, I think a very prominent place. He was a Temani rabbi of that neighborhood, and I think he would send his children to an ultra-Orthodox education over there. He was known as a great darshan, and giving over various different great Torah importances at a great Yemenite Kehila congregation over there. He passed away in 1990 on the 4th of Kislev. And I think Rabbi Pinchas Korach, his son, would actually bring about the book there, Enough Etz Avot, if I'm not mistaken, in his memory. And I think various different manuscripts of his was also there. Let's explore some of his books. The Divrei Yosef, Drashot on the Torah. Imrei Yosef, 77 questions and answers, if I'm not mistaken, on Halacha. This is a very, very great expoundation and importances, let's just say, in of itself. So really great Torah work that happened to be. And more books, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Shirat Yosef, which is 25 different songs that was wrote down while he was young, and the Azarat Kafi Da'at Harambam, another importance in himself. Now, friends, we're exploring the life of Rabbi Yosef Korach, the great Yemenite rabbi. So please, anyone, if you're interested in subscribing to our channel, please join our community and subscribe. We'll really, really appreciate it and bring you abundance blessings. Now, among his sons includes Rabbi Pinchas Korach. He's a rabbi of the Kehillat Sharei Halacha B'Bnei Brak. Respectively, Rav Pinchas, I think, was born actually in the year 1941 in Tzana'ah, respectively, in of itself, and was fifth generation, I think, of Rav Chaim Korach also. And he would actually be 8 years old when he actually made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. I think this was possibly in the year 1949, just after formation of the state in of itself. I think he learned in various places, including Shivat HaSharon, I think under auspices of Rabbi Yaakov Edelstein, in Ramat HaSharon, if I'm not mistaken. He was also learned in the bastion of the Lithuanian Yeshivat Ponevezh also, and was doing various importances in of itself, and is definitely very much a very famous rabbi. That's something that we have to point out. Also, Rav Ezra Korach, who was a great Talmid Chacham, that happens to be his son. He's a translator on various Perushes listed, especially from the Rambam. And also Rabbi Shalom Korach, who's Magid Shurim in Modi'in elite also. So great sons, great Talmidei Chachamim, respectively. So very interesting. Let's say something about Rabbi Chaim Korach, who is his ancestor. Also, he was born in the year 1824. He passed away in the year 1914. He was about 90 years of age. Once again, born in Tzana'ah. He passed away in Tzana'ah. Rabbi Chaim Korach did. And he was a Talmud of Rabbi Yosef, Mari Yosef Korach, Rabbi Yosef Korach, and Rabbi Abraham Arishi. And he would have great Talmudim, including Rabbi Yechia Kapach, Rabbi Yechia Yitzchak HaLevi, and a great rabbi of his time, and Rabbi Aaron HaKohen. If I'm not mistaken, he was very much at the time period of Rabbi Sedmin Kara, Rabbi Abraham Tzedach, and some great rabbis. Now it's interesting. Rabbi Chaim Korach would have two great children, specifically Rabbi Yosef Korach and Rabbi Shalom Korach, also respectively. So we can see the brilliance within regards to him. I think there was few. Rabbi Yosef Korach himself was born in the year. The one we're speaking about today was born in the year 1913, so that's very interesting. So I'm not sure if so maybe I think Rabbi Yosef Korach was speaking about today maybe actually was his grandson, but please, if anyone's got any clarity, please let me know. I'd really appreciate it. But Rabbi Chaim Korach was also a great rabbi. He was I believe taking on various different important positions. He would be involved in the highest level of Limud Torah study. He was educating at various different schools, and I think it was involved with Tzitziot and Torah importances in itself. He was part of the Beit Knesset and Beit Midrash Beit al-Shaykh, if I'm not mistaken, and we have many great students, especially, as we said before, Rabbi Aaron HaKohen, who was a famous rabbi, lived between 1841 to 1934, one of the great rabbis of Yemen of his time, and a Dayan and Rosh Hashiva, Beit Shrabi, respectively. Also, Rabbi Yechia Kapach was close to him very much so. He was one of the great rabbis of Timan. He was also a Dayan, a Posek, and Rosh Hashiva, and the De'im movement also in itself. He was head, and Rabbi Yechia Yitzchak HaLevi, and the great rabbi, was a chief rabbi and head of Jewish court, the Jewish community in Timan, for a staggering 30 years until he passed away. So that's very, very interesting. So I think when he was young, I think the time period maybe he passed away, he had 6 children, 5 boys and a girl, if I'm not mistaken, and he passed away, I believe, in the year 1914, if I'm not mistaken, and will take on various different importances in of itself, and was a famous rabbi of his time. He had great Torah, great Midot. He was the author of the Likutim LeTorah, the Sefer Chayim V'Shalom, Sefer Shut, Kobetz Psakim, Sefer Liyukutim, which was on the Or Torah, let's be Kitzei Hilchot Nashim, Mishnah Torah LeRambam, Kvutzei Tfilat Bakshot, Hagaot LeSefer Zevach Todah, if I'm not mistaken, of the Maharitz, also respectively. So he lived at a golden time, we have to point out. Rabbi Chaim Korach, one of the great ancestors of the Korach family in himself. Let's explore, go back a bit with regards to Rabbi Yosef Korach, because it marks his Hilula. Well, as we said before, his father was Rabbi Shalom Korach, and obviously born around the period of 1913. He would, as we said before, he will become an educator, educating in schools, Torah himself, and Talmud Torah, respectively. I think he would actually open a new school, if I'm not mistaken, in Tsana'a, in the year 1946. It says here, נפתח בצנעא בית ספר חדש, והוא נקרא לשמש כעוזר למנהל בית ספר וכמלמד, if I'm not mistaken. So very, very different importances, and was seen learning pretty much all throughout the year. He was, as we said before, he would be the writer of various different songs. He was into song and poetry in of itself, and we found various different importances that would really benefit the Jewish community of Timan, also respectively. I think he was also a secretary to the Vad of Le'ezrat, and the 18 months it was really doing a lot of charity work and helping work within regards to the Jewish community and the poor in Timan. He was so he was just working all throughout, and especially in unity for the Temani community, Yemenite community, to come safely to Eretz Yisrael, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was also in Zariz for a point of time, if I'm not mistaken, and was really helping, let's just say, combat anti-Semitism, because it was rampant at that point in time. So he himself passed away, as before, on the 4th Kislev. One opinion says 1991 also, but I think the other opinions say 1990. And many of his books, Imre Yosef, come out after he passed away. The Divrei Yosef also, which is Shut, and the Shirat Yosef, which is a poetry, songbook in of itself. So we spoke about how his son will bring about Anaf Etz Avot, if I'm not mistaken, over there. So that's very, very interesting. Let's explore a few of the highlights from his book, friends. One of the teachings he gives over in the Chelek Bet of Anaf Etz Avot, which is printed once again, I believe, in the year 1994. Melamed Shevach Mukar Arak. Shaya Marika Kopa Ledava Mitzvah Bli Ishol. This is one of the teachings he gives over. Another teaching says, just using the Haimi website over here with regards to these teachings. Melamed Shekol Kochot Akvira Ba'orot Ba'olam Lo Yochlu Limod Abanim. This once again I think comes from page Taf Kuf Ein Chet, if I'm not mistaken. We'll come out once again this book from his son Rabbi Pinchas Korach. Another teaching, Melamed She'en Lechachmei Teman Leheter Hashmita. Vaskamot Lechachmei Haaretz. And the important teaching of the second respectively over there. Another teaching, Melamed Le'ola Le'Torah V'Hachazon Koreh. Shetzarek Likro B'Lachash Mivta Temani, with regards to the importance of the Temani pronunciations, how important actually it is. It's just re-stressing that over there. Now a couple more teachings. Melamed She'ein L'Shliach Tzibur Lit'ater B'Dei Kavod Liyot Gadol Ma'achiv. That teaching he gives over. Melamed She'yotzei Yidei Chova B'Kol Nusach Tefillah Temani Sfardi V'Ashkenazi. Just importance of wherever we are from, basically, if we're using our correct liturgy, everything obviously all the tefillah counts. One last teaching, Meshure Yom Nikbetzut Son Hanafzot Yom Yom Hu Yosef Korach LeKol Zot. It's an important teaching, I think, coming from page Taf Reish Ayin Taf Reish Tet Zayin, if I'm not mistaken. So that was once again printed in the year 1994. And very interesting, we're speaking about the famous Korach family over here. It was a famous family. We've spoken about the great rabbis from this specific family in itself on various occasions before. Now, friends, we're a community here. We're learning about great rabbis of yesteryear. We happen to speak about great Yemenite Rabbi over here. So please join and subscribe our channel. We've got fantastic content here, and that's something I very much would recommend. And remember, friends, we've also recorded about many rabbis from this famous Korach rabbinic family of the Yemenite family. So I'd recommend everyone to watch over that previous videos recorded about some of his relatives also. So that's very, very important just to stress out also. And Rabbi Yosef Korach, I believe, was 77 years of age at the time when he passed away. He happened to have been. So his greatness did travel and all throughout various different vicinities. That's something we have to point out. And it's definitely, of his time, one of the most famous Temani Yemenite rabbis that there definitely was. And there was a great cluster, many, many great rabbis in of itself during that golden era, you could say, of Yemenite learning, Bastian learning. And that's something that we have to stress over. Now, friends, we don't just record this inside this channel. We do loads of great content. That's something that we have to point out. Now, I think on this channel, including we will record videos on with a great Jewish personality here of current year. We've recorded many videos already, so every single day we have bursts of 2 or 3 minute inspiration, something like that, from a great Jewish personality here in modern day. Now, another project we are working on at the moment is a project where we're exploring all the countries of the world. We've already recorded about a staggering about 32 countries here inside this series. We're trying to go all over the Jewish world. Who were the great rabbis? What were the synagogues like? And with the personalities, what were the community likes of yesterday? What was the Jewish history like in those places? That's what we are aiming to do at the moment and really, really achieving. That's something I very much have to point out. So that's another phenomenal feat. And we do so much more here in this community. We do tours all over Israel. We do daily tidbits of the Daf Yomi also, which is also very, very important. So friends over here, everyone that's come in, welcome to the channel. Anyone that's new, we are a community. We love learning. We love growing in of itself. And thank God, I think we're nearing a staggering 8,000 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. And we hope we're going to grow more and more. And yeah, very, very goodness. So once again, please, everyone, subscribe to the channel, join. And thanks always for the great feedback all of you fantastic people give. And yeah, try and learn more about the great Oriental rabbis. We don't just record rabbis from North Africa, also from parts of Asia. We've spoken about various different Ethiopian rabbis also inside this series, and we're getting a great breadth of Rabbonim over here and Torah scholarships, respectively. So thanks very much for watching. Be well, and wishing you all a Shavua Tov and Brach, a fantastic week ahead. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.